Hi, I'm Alex Paulton. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watches and horology. Today, let's take a look at the Rolex Explorer 2, what I believe is the last true tool watch from Rolex. It's a fantastic watch, a tremendous value. Essentially, it's the GMT Master without a rotating bezel. At least the 16570 Explorer 2 is same case, same movement. The only difference, like I said, is also the script on the face and the non-rotating bezel. It's odd that this is such an unpopular Rolex to some. It's interesting that it's such a collectible to others, but I gather that's one of the reasons. For example, I own one. The reason I do own it is because, number one, it's a sharp watch. It's a very striking piece. It looks really good. It's a strap hog. You could put on any strap, metal. Obviously, you'd want it on the Oyster if you're gonna put it on metal, but leather, in this case, a NATO. Here I used the NATO with the red stripe to just bring out that GMT hand a little bit. Now, what I don't like about what Rolex is doing lately is I think they're abandoning the mainstream. One could argue that Rolex was never the mainstream, but at least a professional who wanted to have a good tool watch could trust Rolex to provide them with something. And that's how Rolex got their reputation. Hans Wilsdorf was a visionary, the only non-watchmaker in those days to have created a watch brand, and considering that it's a non-watchmaker and Rolex is now the most valuable watch brand in the world, he did a pretty good job. So I'm not going to knock him or his vision. I do think that the current Rolex management has lost sight of Wilsdorf's vision because I think they're trying to go too high end, too luxury, and they lost sight of the fact that, some people just want a good, solid, reliable watch. Now, I do think that Rolex is pushing Tudor into that role. Rolex wants Tudor to be what Rolex used to be, and they want to make Rolex, they want to add a leg to the triumvirate, make it a four-legged stool, and have people consider Rolex with Audemars Piguet or Patek or Vacheron Constantin. But again, in the case of the Explorer 2, you can see why people love Rolex. This is a fantastic piece, and as I said, it's a watch that you could wear as a daily wear or as your only watch. So let's flip the camera around and take a look. So here we are with the Rolex Explorer 2. As I've often said, the last real tool watch from Rolex. You could arguably say that any of their steel watches are tool watches, as any rugged, highly legible watch would be also considerable as a tool watch. But when one thinks of the tool watch, one thinks of a watch where the functionality is more evident than the style, that it is obvious that it is a no-nonsense piece designed to do a task well. In this case, tell the time and tell the time someplace else at the same time. Now, this is a true GMT, even though it does not have a rotating bezel. It does have an independent 24-hour hand, and it has a jumping hour hand, which I'll show you in a second. Frankly, I think Rolex, kind of lost their way in one sense, that they're really chasing the high end now. They're trying to become a luxury watch company, and they're trying to push Tudor into our hands as the replacement for what Rolex used to be: reliable, well-made, good-looking pieces. Tudor is now that, and Rolex wants to become the fourth leg of the triumvirate and turn it into a table, I guess, from a stool. The Explorer 2 is also, I would argue, one of the most controversial Rolexes out there, because it's either loved or hated by most people, even though it is arguably the best value in the Rolex catalog, because
It is a Rolex with a date function, which you pay a lot for in any Rolex. And it has a complication. In this case, a 24-hour hand and independent jumping hour hand. It's the same movement of the GMT Master of its era. This is the 16570. The serial number's here, but I won't disclose it. The thing about this that I like is it's a good strap watch, just like the Omega Speedmaster. It loves a good NATO strap. In this case, I'm wearing one with a little thin red stripe to just bring out the 24-hour hand on the watch. One of the reasons I think this is not as loved as it should be is the bezel. The bezel is bold but not striking. It is highly legible and it is sharp, but it is not glamorous or exotic. It's not shiny. It's, in fact, got a very fine brush pattern on it that is a notorious scratch demon. If you wear this for any length of time, you are going to get scratches in this bezel. So but it doesn't take away from either the functionality or the legibility of the watch, which is, again, tool watch. You don't really care, supposedly, what it looks like. You just care that it works. It's got crown guards. It's the same case as the GMT. In fact, the only difference between this and the GMT Master of its era is the rotating bezel. So considering what this costs, this is literally the best deal you're going to find in the Rolex catalog, used or new watches. There are a couple of things about this watch. It's a 39 millimeter. A lot of people don't think about the size and what that really means. In the case of the Explorer 2, the 39 is kind of a rough measurement because, yes, it's a 39, but between the crown guards and the lug to lug, the lug width is pretty straightforward. But, when you think about the fact that the bezel is very bold and straight and in front, it wears larger than the 39 that it measures, and it's actually a pretty svelte 11 and change, considering it is a rugged sports watch, tool watch. Now, all the Rolexes are smooth on the back because they expect you to engrave them, because a lot of them are given as gifts. I had mine engraved. It just says Alex Paul European Tour in the years that I've lived here in Germany. Give my daughter something to fight over when I'm gone. But this is a great watch. It's a fantastic piece as a daily watch. If I had no other watch in my collection, I'd be happy with this. This wouldn't be my choice for my one watch collection, but I would be very happy if it were my only watch and the only watch I could have in my collection. Let's put it on the wrist real quick and take a look at how it looks. Let's get the NATO through that narrow gap. Come on, get through there, And almost tempted to grab a pair of pliers and just pull this thing through. But it's actually a pretty tight fit between the spring bar and the case. So a thick NATO, as you see, we'll have a tough time getting through. So there we go. We've got it back on the NATO. Wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Sin Chrono, Aviator Chrono. This is a watch that has been in space, not this specific one, but this model has been in space by various European astronauts, and is also a very cool watch. It's got the Lemania 5100 movement in it, and its big claim to fame is that it's got a center stopwatch second, so it's easier to track when you're timing something. So let's throw this on the wrist, and I have thin wrists but big hands, so I like a larger watch, but I don't like something that's overbearing in presence because it can dominate the wrist even though it balances the hand. So let me just throw this around real quick. I'll just tuck it, leave it untucked for now. And see, but it's a beautiful piece. It sits very well on the wrist. It's got a very good wrist presence without being too large. And with a NATO, it really just brings out the fact that this is a nice sporty watch. If you didn't know it was a Rolex, you might miss it. This is the kind of Rolex you could wear into that bar you're kind of uncertain about, because only Rolex aficionados know that it's a Rolex. You put it on a NATO and nobody would know unless you pointed out to them that this watch is worth several $1,000s. So, that's the Rolex Explorer. Now, I was talking about the jumping hour, and the way it works is, you fly somewhere, and as you see, I've got the GMT hand set for local time. So it's 5 o'clock, almost 5, almost 17, right? So the GMT is set on local time in this case, which is, in my opinion, the best way to use this piece, because you're on the plane, you get to your location, they say, okay, it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You pull it out to the first notch, and you can move the hour hand without hacking the seconds. You see, so you have then your home time, and then wherever your local time is. So the Explorer 2, and it's a screw down crown. So rugged, functional, useful, attractive. If it weren't for the fact that I'm kind of upset with Rolex for trying to go up market so much and leave us all behind, I can't complain about this watch, well, frankly, or the Sky Dweller, but I can't afford that. But this is an affordable Rolex. It's all the quality that you expect from Rolex, all the build quality, the style. It's got the beautiful, easy to read face, the beautiful indices, the Mercedes hands. It's a highly legible watch. It's a good looking piece. It's very rugged. Could be your only watch ever, and in all, excellent piece to own. So let's turn the camera around and close out the episode. So that was the Rolex Explorer 2, a fantastic value, a great watch, and a piece that is just as good as a only watch, as a daily wear, as a sports watch, because you could dress it up, you could dress it down. It's a beautiful piece. It's a strap hog, and it shows you why people value Rolex so highly, because it truly is a great piece, as much as I beat up on the company. So thanks for taking the time to be with me, and I appreciate you dialing in. Please subscribe. I don't post regularly because this is a hobby channel, but I would love it if you subscribed so you knew when I had something new. Have a great day.